The moment Evelyn stepped through the ancient iron gate, she knew she had entered a world unlike any she had ever known. The air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine and lavender, a fragrance so rich and soothing that it wrapped around her like a warm embrace. The garden stretched endlessly before her, a place where time seemed to slow, where the worries of the outside world faded into nothingness. She had discovered the garden by accident, so it seemed. Wandering through an unfamiliar part of the countryside, she had stumbled upon a crumbling stone wall nearly hidden beneath thick vines. Curiosity led her hands to brush aside the leaves, revealing a small, ornate gate that had likely been untouched for centuries. The metal was cool beneath her fingers, yet it yielded easily, as though it had been waiting for her all along. Inside, the garden shimmered in the golden light of dusk. Trees with silken silver leaves swayed in a breeze she couldn't quite feel, and tiny fireflies pulsed like stars between branches heavy with fruit. A narrow path of smooth river stones wound its way through the lush greenery, leading her deeper into the heart of the garden. She followed it, her footsteps soundless against the soft moss beneath her feet. The stillness here was different from silence. It was alive, humming with an energy she could sense but not quite name. She passed beneath arches of trailing wisteria, their violet blossoms glowing faintly as if lit from within. A gentle stream meandered alongside her path, its water as clear as glass, reflecting a sky that seemed untouched by time. She wasn't sure how long she walked. Minutes? Hours? The concept of time had already begun to slip from her grasp. She only knew that she was moving towards something, and then she saw him. A figure stood at the heart of the garden, beside an ancient stone fountain. He was tall, his posture relaxed, his gaze thoughtful as he trailed his fingers through the water's surface. His presence felt as much a part of the garden as the trees, as if he had always been there waiting. Evelyn hesitated. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The man turned, a slow, knowing smile spreading across his face. "I am the keeper of this place," he said. His voice was as soothing as the wind through the trees, as though it carried the echoes of all who had walked these paths before her. She frowned. "I didn't think anyone lived here," he chuckled. "Many have come before you, and many will come after. But the garden only reveals itself to those who seek something beyond what they know." Evelyn felt a strange pull in her chest, as if something long buried within her was stirring. "I don't understand," she admitted. The man gestured to the fountain. "This garden exists outside of time. It is a refuge, a place for those who need rest, who need to remember what it means to simply be." She stepped closer, drawn to the sound of the water trickling over the worn stone. "How long can I stay?" He smiled again, though there was something wistful in his eyes. "As long as your heart desires." She looked around, taking in the endless beauty, the soft glow of the lanterns that now flickered to life along the pathways, the gentle embrace of the evening air. For the first time in as long as she could remember, she felt completely at peace. Perhaps she had been searching for this place all along. And perhaps, just perhaps, the garden had been searching for her too. Evelyn didn't know how long she stayed. Days? Weeks? She didn't count. There was no need. The garden provided everything. When she grew tired, soft patches of moss cradled her in the most restful sleep she had ever known. When she was thirsty, the stream's crystal-clear water refreshed her. When she was hungry, fruit heavier and sweeter, than anything she had ever tasted grew within reach. The air was always perfect, not too warm, not too cold. A perpetual twilight hung over the garden, the sky a watercolour blend of deep purples and gentle golds, as if the sun had decided to linger just a little longer. And the keeper was always near. He never intruded, never demanded, never asked questions. He simply existed, as much a part of the garden as the trees and the fountain. Some nights Evelyn would find him sitting beneath an ancient willow, his gaze lost in the rippling reflection of the stars. Other times he would tend to the glowing flowers, whispering something to them in a language she didn't understand. One evening, as they sat beside the fountain, Evelyn finally asked, "Why me?" The keeper tilted his head slightly. "Why not you?" she sighed, running her fingers along the stone edge of the fountain. "I mean, why did the garden let me in? What am I supposed to do here?" He considered her for a moment before answering. "Do you feel safe here?" She nodded. "More than I ever have." "Do you feel at peace?" She nodded again. "Then perhaps that is enough." For a while it was, until she saw the door. It was hidden behind a curtain of ivy, tucked between two towering cypress trees. It hadn't been there before, maybe she had simply never noticed it. Unlike the garden's ornate iron gate, this door was wooden, carved with symbols she couldn't decipher. Something about it unsettled her. She turned to ask the keeper about it, but he was already watching her. "You found it," he murmured. Evelyn hesitated. "What's on the other side?" His expression softened. "The world you left behind," she swallowed. "But I thought I could stay as long as I wanted." "You can," he said gently. "But doors have a way of appearing when you are ready to see them." She turned back to the door, her heart pounding. Did she want to leave? Could she leave? The thought of the outside world, the noise, the chaos, the constant demands made her chest tighten. But something else stirred within her, a memory, a promise, a life that was still waiting for her. She turned back to the keeper. "Will I remember this place?" His smile was warm, reassuring. "The garden never truly leaves those who have walked its paths." A lump formed in her throat. "And if I need to return?" His gaze twinkled. "The way back is always if you know where to look." She took a deep breath and stepped through the door. When Evelyn opened her eyes, she was standing at the edge of a quiet forest. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it the faintest scent of jasmine and lavender. And in the distance, hidden behind ivy and thyme, an ancient gate waited, just in case she ever needed to come home.